Welcome to K-Drama School. I'm your host Grace Jung and class is now in session. I just got back home from being on the road. I was out in Chicago for a few days, and man, that city, first of all, what a beautiful city. I mean, I've been to Chicago twice before, but I didn't really spend that much time there, not as much as I did this time around. I also love the crowds there. People there are super sweet. The crowds were just so into comedy. They were so glad to have comedians perform, and I just felt it, and it was awesome. I got to perform at the Lincoln Lodge, which is this amazing theater for a comedy. I was at the Laugh Factory, excellent theater, amazing crowd. I was at the Comedy Bar, amazing crowd, and yeah, I had an amazing time. I have nothing bad to say about Chicago. Not one thing. I do want to make one quick show date announcement. I will be at the Glendale Room on April 6th. That's a Wednesday. I will be there at 7:30 p.m. Please come and see that show. The show I'm going to talk about today is 39. It is a Netflix miniseries starring Son Ye-jin, Jeon Mi-do, and Kim Ji-hyun. We all know Son Ye-jin from Crash Landing on You, Something in the Rain. She's also Hyun Bin's girlfriend. I mean, they're still dating, right? I mean, I didn't see any bad news yet, so I assume they're still dating. We know Jeon Mi-do from Hospital Playlist. And Jeon Mi-do is getting more and more film and TV roles lately, which I think is great, but she's had a long career in musical theater. And this also applies in Kim Ji-hyun's case as well. Kim Ji-hyun is also somebody that I haven't seen very often. Her face is not at all familiar, but she's done some screen roles here and there, but she's mostly known for being a musical theater actress. The show's very intense from the get-go, right? Because we know what the ending is going to be. We start out with a funeral, and we know that Chanyeong is the one that's going to die. And there are many layers of drama to this particular show. Not only is Chanyeong dying, but she's also in love with a married man, and that married man is married to a woman who lied to him about her pregnancy, saying that that was his child when it was not. And she did this in order to marry him, in order to trap him in a relationship. We have the character Mi-jo, played by Son Ye-jin. And Mi-jo is an adoptee. And she is dating a man who has a younger sister who is an adoptee. But she is also forced out of their family and home after the death of their mother, because their father is, he's a pig. He's a jerk. What can we say? He's a monster. I mean, what kind of adoptive father disowns his own child, right? I thought it was a really intense storyline. And a show like this, where there's this constant drama, layer of drama after drama, it's to an extent exhausting. I was a bit exhausted watching this drama. There are only 12 episodes, and I feel like 12 is more than enough. I mean, this could have ended at 6, in my personal opinion, because it's the kind of show that's designed to make you weep. It's a tearjerker drama. It is very intentionally dramatic in a way that's supposed to make you sob. It reminds me a lot of that show Chocolate, which I talked about. I didn't go into depth, but I would just mention it here and there. That show Chocolate, it's on Netflix. And it's a similar show because it's set in a hospice, and at a hospice you're gonna have people dying all the time. So again, you're gonna be crying in every single episode, right? So I feel like a show like this is just designed to make you cry. I mean, I've seen Son Ye-jin cry before in other shows, but this one they really just wring her dry. I feel like. I mean, she's just crying way too much. I found the show's exploration of adoption quite interesting. I think that having an adoptive woman mentoring a younger adoptee is very, very interesting. I think it was actually quite nice to see on a TV show. I don't like how sad the show is. It's way too bleak for me at this point in my life. I'm looking for more uplift. I don't know why so many of these shows are killing off 30 something year old women's best friends. Right? This is like the second one that's doing this. I already talked about it and now we are breaking up, but that one also has a death of a 30 something year old friend. It's just weird. It's weird. Why? What's with this? Today's guest is Neeraj Srinivasan. He is an LA comedian who tours all over the Northwest Coast. He's just lived all over the Northwest Coast. He's lived in Boise, Idaho. He's lived in Portland, Oregon. He now lives in Los Angeles, but he's a funny guy, funny dude, very nice dude. In any case, he and I have a really nice chat, so let's talk to Neeraj. Wow. Yeah. Really doing it all. Yeah. Gonna eat. We're gonna record a podcast and he's gonna eat food. He's gonna
Oh, we're like
crunch
we're
into
already
the
recording.
he's gonna crunch into the microphone and he's gonna eat food. Um really just really top notch, grade A stuff. He's really doing it all. No, no, please by all means eat your
They're just gonna hear
breakfast.
me sucking on candy. This is my breakfast. That's the messed up part. Is I haven't eaten anything. There's just candy nearby. I
You're
was like, if I
eating
just
candy and he's eating candy for breakfast. Um really like the breakfast of champions, you know? I mean, that's what Olympians eat before they go out and compete for the gold medal. What kind of candy is it? What is it?
it's sweet tarts fruit chews.
Mini Chewies. He's got sweet tarts for breakfast. Oh my god.
Okay,
Oh
so I'm
my
I'm
god.
traveling right now, so all rules are. I've not been taking very good care of myself.
Oh my god. Are you in Seattle? I saw that you have like a showing at the Camano Islands. That's
Yeah,
excited.
I'm in Portland right now. I'm leaving shortly, and then yeah, I have a show near just north of Seattle tonight.
Oh wow. Okay. Wow, so busy. Busy day. You have to drive all the
hmm
way up there from Portland too.
Yeah, yeah. I've made the drive before. I mean, because I was based out of Portland for a long time, so
That's right.
do runs up there all the time, and I've gotten used to
Yeah.
doing it. I've grown fond of it, you can say.
Yeah. So you're not living in LA anymore or what's going on?
I am just visiting, just doing a run in
Okay.
the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah. You seem to go up there often.
Yeah, well, it's you go where people give you stage time and know that you're not a leper, so it's nice.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, like it seems like you've lived sort of everywhere. Like Portland, you've lived in Idaho, you've lived yeah. Fuck.
Yeah, I mean,
The white
growing
the
up, you
whitest
know,
places.
the whitest, but yeah, no, my family did do like a whitest towns in America tour when we like moved here, just because my dad would get a new job like every year. So every year we were in a new town. We were in
Yeah.
Wisconsin for a while. We were in Waukesha, Wisconsin. We were in like upstate New York and like New Jersey, but like two different towns in New Jersey,
Where in
and
New Jersey?
um first year I think was in Sayreville, New Jersey. And then
Okay.
we left and then came back, and we came back to Bud Lake, New Jersey.
No idea
I don't
where
know if
those
you know those
places are in
places.
New
Yeah, they're
Jersey.
they're pretty white places.
Oh my gosh. Wait, what did your father do?
He was in tech. He still is. I don't
Okay.
know why I said it like he's dead. He's
Mhm.
around. He's still doing
Uh-huh.
it.
Uh-huh. Okay.
I couldn't really tell you more than that, but he helps big companies with uh whatever they need doing
Some tech service.
in tech. Yeah.
Their
I'm not in
defense
tech.
companies. No, no, you're a comedian. You're a comedian who eats sweet tarts for breakfast. Um,
Yes, I'm the furthest thing a person can be from being in tech. It's like very like
mm.
obviously not in tech. Just live this
Actually,
way.
I heard that people in tech eat a whole lot of candy.
Really
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, that's like their like vice. Like when they're working and they're coding all day, like they need sugar, they'll eat a shit ton of candy. That's what I hear. Yeah.
That's a different sort that sort of person is built different. That's a person that can just sit at a desk and just, like, zero in on one task
Yeah.
for, like, 12 hours, like, when they're, like,
Mhm.
headphoned on, like, those guys are next level.
Yeah. I don't get it. Like
I don't have the patience.
when I was asked to do like some research for somebody, like I had like YouTube videos going. I
Mhm.
had like a whole meal with me. There was no way I could do it without like other things happening that were like helping me find some pleasure in it. Yeah.
I think that's kind of also like I think that's something a lot of people are facing because it's a natural folly of working from home. Like you're too comfortable. Like you're supposed to be when you're at work, you're a little everyone's a little bit uncomfortable, like even if
Mm,
it's your company or whatever, like everyone's like on a little bit more, you know what I mean? But when you're home, like your chill is turned up too much. And I think
yeah.
that
Yeah.
starts to affect you in a different sort of way.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the perhaps the one benefit of an office is that like you're under this scrutiny and so you are in a work mode. Whereas, like,
Mhm.
if you're not under that scrutiny, you're not in work mode. But I also know, like, of cases where people will rent out their own office space if they're like independent, freelancers and shit, like, I mean, this is, of course, it applies only to like certain people, but I was like looking at Lena Dunham's Instagram, and when she
Mhm.
was like 23 and working on her first feature, Tiny Furniture, she rented out her own office space. And she was like working out of an office space for her film production and pre production. And I was like, oh, like, yeah, some people take measures to do that. Cause like when I'm at home, I can't work. There's no way I have to step out. I don't know if that's the same for you, but
No, I've learned to do like I've just kind of cultivate like a couple of habits, and then it helps me focus a little bit. Like I'll put on the campfire sounds and nature sounds in my room,
whoa. Uh huh.
because I've found that it just sort of like kind of drowns out like the sounds of traffic and like the city a little bit,
Uh
and
huh.
that for some reason like relaxes me enough that I don't feel as like on edge while I'm working, because that's I feel like that's what causes the distraction is that I'm just sitting like alone and I'm just doing stuff and I'm just doing stuff. And you just feel like this strange pressure. And it's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even really know if I have the word for it, but it's just this weird discomfort.
Mm,
But if I can kind of like make it extra comfortable in other ways, then at
yeah.
that point I'm like, "Whew, okay." And then it doesn't feel so tedious, it doesn't feel like this
Mm.
grind.
Mm-hmm.
And
Okay.
like I'm seeking pleasure in it, you know what I mean? And
Mm-hmm.
at that point it becomes like something that's like I just by its very virtue and nature I enjoy it.
Mm. So similar to like me turning on YouTube videos and having a whole meal and something like that. But you seem to just like zone in and make it more
Yeah.
like a comfortable environment for yourself.
Right. Because especially, I mean, I live in West Hollywood, so I walk out the door and it's just like
Oh, it's
people
noisy.
and
Mm-hmm.
noise and traffic and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not quite that bad. Like I live on a relatively quiet block, but like around the corner it's Santa Monica Boulevard.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
there's just a lot going on, but
It's busy. Yep.
uh just make like, if I can make my bedroom slash office a little
Mm-hmm.
clubhouse feel, then at that point
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't really feel like work. It's just something that's like I can
Sure.
escape to a little
Sure.
bit more, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like during those times, like what are you working on? You're working on like a script or
No. So I do have like a day job. I work uh as an animator for a corporation. So
oh
I mean I'm
wow.
making animations all day,
That's
like
amazing.
explainer videos and stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So that's what you studied? You studied art?
No, I studied broadcasting. I worked in news for a while. Like when I was in
Okay.
college, like I worked in sports.
Mhm.
Um, it's I've done a couple of different things. Like I worked for this like internet news company. Like that was the last news job I had. And
Yeah.
then like I sold advertising for a while. Like I did like a weird gaggle of things before I found this job.
Oh wow. Okay. So but like animation isn't it doesn't seem like well I know that like, like Milan is like like
Right.
self-taught in animation. Is that like what you were doing? Did you just self-taught?
Yeah, pretty much. There's definitely like the people I work with are definitely like really bright people, and they've been showing me a lot of stuff too. So like, you know, I'm learning a lot just like having this job, because like before this, like I wasn't really working as an animator, but I did have to do a couple of animations here and there, and I basically like used those samples to be like, look, I know how to do something, and that's
Mm.
yeah, I basically that's just YouTube University, you know. But it was like the
Mm.
most like bare minimum like knowledge, and then they were like, okay, this is this isn't bad, but there's a lot more that we could show you. And I probably, yeah, like I've definitely, I think like now I consider myself a competent animator, but before that it was definitely just kind of cobbling together just little tricks here and there.
Mhm. That's amazing though. I love that. I love that you found a job at a place where they're like willing to like work with you and work with what you have and you know,
Yeah.
give you room to grow and that's
And it's
awesome.
like a comedy positive job, like they know about it and they're like chill about it, and it's
Yeah.
remote, it
Yeah.
basically get to make my own hours. Like it's a pretty like, it allows me to get up, I think, more than I might with like a regular job where I have to like go into an office. So there
Yeah.
are there
Yeah.
are perks.
Yeah, yeah. It's an ideal situation, it sounds like.
Sure,
That's amazing.
sure, sure.
Oh wow. Okay. No, I love that because like animation is like for comedy, like animation and comedy like go so hand in hand and it's such a great skill and asset to have.
Hmm.
Um like, obviously like growing up, like some of my favorite shows are always like animations and cartoons, and like yeah, but it's just like for some reason when it comes to animation it just seems intimidating. It's like, oh, this is like a skill set I need to develop, like this is something I need to learn from scratch. Like how did you even like muster the courage to or even manage to like start it? Like what was like the first step that you took into that?
I needed to. I honestly think like it was just kind of really small projects early on, like making lower thirds for like a news story. I wanted to think of like
Okay.
maybe a cooler way to like bring those in and
Okay.
like do different stuff with them. And then it
Mm.
went to like, and honestly like making promos for shows I was producing. I
Mm.
thought that if it was like a cool like animated video, then that would probably perform better on social media and stuff, and like help
Mhm.
people kind of engage with it a little bit more.
Mhm.
So I started making like I ran this weekly show and I lived in Portland, and I started making these little lyric videos with like the audio from the headliner for that week.
Yeah.
And just like learning how to do that was like a big ramp up, because like I didn't know that much before that at the time. But
Yeah.
I just like started like I was like, okay, I need to make these things. How do I figure out how to do it? And
Uh-huh.
just tried to make the projects like more and more complicated. And then eventually, yeah, just like started seeking opportunities, I guess, to where people just kind of needed problem solved. So like I
Uh-huh.
worked at a company where like they had hired me to like upgrade their conference rooms,
Mm.
because all the equipment in there was really old, and that was like the initial job. But
Mm.
in addition to that, like they wanted me to like make guides for how people use like certain equipment, because it was like the first like month of the pandemic and people were like getting webcams and being like, I don't know what like they didn't know
Mm.
what to do with it.
Okay.
So I started making like animated videos that are just like tutorials on how to use those.
Hmm.
So in doing that, like I learned a lot. So
Yeah,
I think you
yeah.
just start doing stuff. You're like, okay, I want to make this, very small thing, and then figure out how, and then try to make something a little bit bigger, and then a little bit bigger than that, and then
And then dive
eventually,
right in.
yeah, and then you're in it.
Mm. What's the program that you use for animation?
I use After Effects, but
Mm.
I know there's a lot of different ways you can go. This is just like
So
what I learned.
so you just like illustrate it by hand and then you just like apply it in the thing? Like
Yeah, I mean, like you could make some like like a shape or like a person or whatever with your mouse, on Illustrator, and then it's cool because it lets like each like you can make their head, like a layer, and then like their face a layer, and it like helps you like kind of separate those out individually, and
mm,
then you're able to move them around in After Effects.
I see. So you use Illustrator and After Effects. That's amazing. I'm so like impressed by that. I guess that's sort of how everybody gets into anything though, right? It's just like it seems like daunting to me because it's so foreign from like what I typically do, but like that's
Mhm.
basically how anybody gets into anything, really, right? Like comedy or like, you know.
Yeah, you have to embrace, I think, the spirit of like trial and error, and like know that
Mm,
you're going to suck at this for a long time, and it's not going to feel good to be bad at something. But
mm-hmm.
it's inevitable that if you're like applying yourself and you're making an effort, that you're going to improve. Like you can take
Mm,
anything in the world. I'm not saying that you'll be the best, but if you try a little bit,
mm-hmm.
like you're going to get better. But you got to want to do that first thing, which is embrace the shittiness. And
Mm-hmm.
if that is a comfortable sacrifice, then I mean, anybody's capable of getting anywhere.
Mm. That's good advice. I remember
Yeah,
reading like something that they were like, "Oh, don't ever judge your work when it's in progress." You know?
yeah,
They're
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah. It's
it's
hard
it's
not to,
mm-hmm.
I think, because you feel this. Uh, I think, especially with comedy, like after like killing your first time, like after you're like really like the first time you have like a really good set, where you're like, man, like I was so deliberate, and I got the ideal responses from the audience. Like
Yeah.
you just start to think of yourself in a certain way, and you think of yourself as a very capable person. But then like of course it's early in the game. Like if you're 6 months in, like you're probably not as strong as like I'm not saying everybody, but like a lot of people, like it takes a little longer than that to like become proficient.
Yeah.
And at that point, I think like each failure lands so much harder because
Mm.
you're like self validation is like constantly being tested. Like
Mm-hmm.
you're always kind of like, you're not thinking of yourself as somebody that can have a good night or a bad night. It's like, I am a funny person or I'm not a funny person. Like the stakes
Mm.
are so much higher.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's really easy to like get discouraged, like especially early in the game. But I think if you accept that, you're always going to be like finding places where you feel imperfect, and um, you have to make room for that, and again, like be comfortable with it, then uh, you're more open to growth.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for comedians that is particularly hard because
Hmm.
the feedback is like right there. And even that, it's like who knows if that is the actual like accurate feedback, you know? It's just there's so many variables that come into play and it's like how
Hmm.
do, you know? But that sound is basically like how you're going to be ranking yourself that evening. And
Right, right.
it's just really it's tough to get out of the mindset of like, oh, like did I suck or was I good? Yeah, yeah.
Hmm. And it's
Um,
so personal because it's not like, a lot of, I think, other creative work, even acting, is, you're sort of, there's a removal of the self, right? Like you're
mhm,
stepping outside of whatever the body of work is in order to exist as an individual,
mhm,
and like kind of working at it from the third person. But with comedy, it's like it's just you, and it's just you talking, and if it's not good, then that means you're not good. Like it doesn't feel like it's, I think, I don't know, maybe it's not true for everybody, but it's hard for me to like disassociate from my jokes that much. Like how,
mm,
if a band writes 10 songs and like a couple of the songs didn't really get great responses, they're not going to be like, like those pieces of my identity are
mm,
like incredibly repulsive to people and then like
mhm,
take that
mhm,
home with you.
mhm,
And I think the most punishing thing about failing at comedy is like, if you're bad, it's like, oh no, we like didn't like the person you are felt this way about this thing and had these
mhm,
things to say, and you
mhm,
thought that that would be fun. Like
mhm.
I don't know, that's a really like, that's a punishing feeling. It can be.
I think that is a horrible feeling. It's a horrible
Hmm.
feeling if, you know, if one decides that that is how it is. But um,
Right.
like I don't know. I was listening to like Javier Bardem talk about this. Like he
Hmm.
comes from like a family of actors,
Hmm.
and like or was it Javier? No, no, sorry. It was Mira Sorvino actually. Mira Sorvino's father, you know, is
Hmm.
also like a huge actor. And when she said that she wanted to become an actress, he was just like, "Oh, I don't know if that's good for you because like I know what it's like to be an actor. You know, it's like they're judging me. You know,
Hmm.
it's and if they don't book me, then they're rejecting me. And I don't know
Hmm.
if I want my daughter to go through that." And I was like, but that's not true. Like, they're judging the acting. They're not judging
Right.
Mira Sorvino, the woman, the person.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, well, then it's this like the and I've heard people say this about comedy too. Like I heard there's another comic I knew years ago. She was like, if you bomb on stage, then they're rejecting you. And I was
Mhm.
like, but they don't know you. Like they know you
Yeah.
in that 5, 10, 15, 20, 45 minutes. Okay, 45 minutes is a long time, but like they're knowing you for a very short period of time on stage. They don't know you really. They know a certain mediated, formulated, set up
Mm.
part of you that
Mhm.
you are pre-producing for them to experience, and therefore
Right.
it's not me personally, although it comes from my personal experiences.
Mhm.
So I think there is space to make that distinction, and I don't really, it feels personal. I think it does
Mhm.
feel personal, but
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
think I don't think it is personal because ultimately it's like this is something I wrote in my notebooks and I've tried out at dozens, hundreds of other places, and what I felt like works, and then it's not working here tonight. Like I think you know when we feel that shittiness after coming off like a shitty set,
Yeah.
maybe perhaps this is the saving grace that we could turn to and be like, "Yeah, that's actually not a personal rejection because they don't know me," you know?
Well, you don't think, like, people make moral, like, character judgments about you based on your material? You know what I mean? Like, because sometimes I'm guilty of doing it, like, because especially,
Mhm,
like, I hang out at open mics, so obviously I see,
mhm.
like, a lot of garbage, and it's hard for me
Sure.
not like, if someone comes up and, like,
Yeah.
says some off-color shit
Uh-huh.
and like it's under the premise of like, I mean, don't take this seriously, but at the same time, it's hard not to be like, all right, you had to, those are the words you had to use, huh? Okay,
Right, right,
cool.
right,
Like,
right, right.
it's I do understand what you're saying in that you're giving them a very narrow window into your perspective in your life.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's not, yeah, I wouldn't say that it's an adequate amount of data for them to make like a sound judgment, but I do think
yeah,
that people make judgments in a way that, no one would
yeah.
think you're a bad person if they didn't like the song your band played. They just think
Uh-huh,
that you're a bad band. You know what I mean? You wouldn't think like, oh, that guy is a racist, or like that guy is a
uh-huh.
whatever. I don't know.
Yeah,
You know what I'm
yeah,
trying to
yeah.
say? Like, it's just a little more
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
tied to your reality and your sense of self, right?
I think I do understand what you're saying. I guess I don't take it personally, and I don't
Mhm.
really,
And I think that's
like
a healthy attitude. That's the thing. Like,
but
I respect
but
that.
I think it depends, right? Like, I don't know, like, it happens a lot. Like,
Uh,
I have friends who, like, say, like, off color, quote unquote, what I mean, off color is also subjective, and it's
right.
relative. Like, they'll say, like, things that might that might nudge me a little bit in the
Mhm.
direction of, like, "Oh, that's annoying." But
Mhm.
I'm not gonna take that as like, "Well, she's a full-blown racist now, like, fuck that shit." Like, I'm not gonna write
No.
her off like that. And, I also noticed that, like, if I'm in that mode of being, like, super hyper critical and judgmental of others, like, quick to judge or
Yeah.
pounce on it, I'm usually in a bad place with my own personal, like, self-projections. Like,
Mhm.
I'm holding myself to such high standards that like I can't forgive myself for something, you know? So it's really like whatever goes internal goes external too is something I've just come to learn. So
Yeah.
nowadays I'm just kind of like a little more chill about it. I will clap back though. Like I think that's sort of the leeway that we have as comics. Like for instance, I was at the bomb shelter. I was
Oh,
about to go up on
wonderful.
yeah, I was about to go up on stage. There was a kid, very, very green, very green,
Mhm. Mhm.
and he was like, it's like you're supposed to do 10 minutes there, and he's like
Yeah.
totally unprepared, right? A white boy, okay?
Big
Totally
surprise.
unprepared, going on and on about nonsense, sounds like a fucking idiot.
Yeah.
And then I'm sitting there and we're in the dark, and he
Yeah.
goes, "Oh, you're sleeping during my set? That's good. I wasn't
Oh,
sleeping. My eyes were fully open,
jeez.
right?
Jeez.
And
No,
then
no.
I get to go up after him now. Right after he
Wow.
comes off stage, I'm the next person up. You think I'm gonna let
Amazing.
that shit slide? Oh my god.
Did he
Right?
know you were a comic? Could he tell that you were going up
We were
next?
all comics. Everybody's a comic in there. That's the
Right,
mistake
right.
that he made as a
Yeah.
green comic, is to go after a comic in the
Somebody
room.
real, yeah.
I'm gonna go up and tear him up, which is what I did, right?
Yeah.
But I still have a lot of, and I was like, "Oh, like, it's not called sleeping, it's called, like, I was not sleeping, it's called being Asian, okay? Like, maybe, like, so I'm just tearing it up. I'm tearing him up,
Yeah.
and, I even go so far as to say, "You know what? I don't think you're gonna make it. I don't think you should, do comedy anymore. I think you should quit right now. What you did, it was
Aw.
terrible." Like, I really, really, like,
Yeah,
really
yeah, you
dug
laid
in.
into it.
Really,
Yeah.
really laid in. Um but it's like, because I got to do that, because I got to sort of like vent and
Mhm.
let it out, like, now all I have is love for him, because it's like, you know, all of us are potentially capable of making like some mistake, and it's like,
Yeah.
I fucking got to say my piece. So like, I don't have any like resentment against that, it's like, it's fine, it's cool. Um,
I think he'll thank you for that years from now. You know what I'm saying? Like, if he sticks to it, like, that'll be that's like a core memory in comedy now. Everybody
yeah,
makes like, just has such harsh experiences that shape our best work, and
yeah, yeah,
there's something, again, like, very unforgiving about it, but, like,
yeah.
it's still the most uniquely satisfying experience I've ever
Yeah,
had.
yeah, yeah. No, you gotta be ruthless. Like when I'm on stage, I'm
Mhm.
ruthless. Like one time a
Yeah.
guy I go to the Liquid Zoo often and I get there
Mhm.
at 7 so I could sign up first because I want to just
Mhm.
do my set and leave. But then the show
Mhm.
starts at 9. So I get there 2 hours early, I sign up and I leave and then I come back 2 hours later. But some white guy cut me and he went up first, right? So
Mhm.
after he gets off stage, what am I gonna do? I'm just gonna talk shit about how he, like for
My
like my
god.
first
This
like
is like Pettiness Diaries. I love it.
30
Yeah, like
30 seconds to 45 seconds of my set is just gonna be me laying into that, just tearing him
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
But it's funny, everybody's laughing. I'm not doing it to the point where everybody's like, "Oh my gosh, she's scary." Like, no, like it's like for the fun of it. Like I am making fun of you
Yeah.
because you did do something wrong and I'm gonna spank you into place. Like now's the time. But it's
I
gotta
do
come
think
from
that,
a place
like,
of love.
right, right, and I think that's the distinction, when, because I've seen, like, women do that, and I feel like it generally goes better than when dudes try to, like, clap, you know what I'm saying? Like, because it doesn't feel as hostile to the audience, because it does seem like it comes from a place of caring, but, like, I've, made foolhardy attempts to do like, similar stuff, and it's just
Mm.
like, I need to turn my chill up. That's the thing. It's like, the less worked up
Mm.
I am about it, then
Yeah.
people are on board. At least, especially like those first couple of minutes, like, it's like, hey, we're still having fun, right? I'm not angry, everybody. Like, I still need to, like,
Yeah.
whatever is frustrating me, like, I can't necessarily show it, because then people will be like, all right, bro, like, I
It's
don't
a
know if that's
fine line.
necessarily. I think you have to walk it carefully, but, like, I think women, in general, have more of a latitude from, like, an average audience to sort of go a little more ham, just because it does feel like not as aggressive, for some reason, you know.
Maybe, maybe. I mean, yes and no. Yes and no. Like, I think there's some truth to that in the sense that, like, and there is the old adage, like, when a woman like yells at somebody, like that person's
Mhm.
not gonna end up dying. Whereas if a man is yelling at somebody, that person might end
Right.
up dying later.
Like,
I think
how does the
that's why.
story end?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Like, that's why, when people raise their voice, it's like who's raising it, and it is gendered a bit, but like,
Mhm.
yeah, like holding a calm center does make people feel like there is control in the room. But there have been times when
Yeah.
like people would get scared of me too, and I'm like, oh, like
Yeah.
I went over that boundary. It's a really fine line. Like Tom Segura talks about it a lot, like because he's got like a sort of an insane ragey side to him, and
Mhm.
there have been times where he would like yell at audiences for talking or heckling or da da da, and then it's like you lose them after that, right? And then you have to
Yeah.
like kind of lecture them, and he would talk about those moments. Those are learning moments where he learned
Yeah.
like, okay, like I have this rage, like how do I navigate it? How do I use it to my advantage? You know?
Hmm.
And yeah, I think you're right. Like holding sort of a neutral tone does help.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, especially if
Right.
you're a
Right.
man. Yeah, but for
If you
anybody,
can
for women
mitigate
too.
tension,
Hmm.
that's the goal, is to win over. I think like it's, and it took me a long time to figure it out, but like if you can do it with finesse, that means you've won over the crowd. It, you know, in spite of the heckler or
Hmm.
whoever's, because there's, it's not, there's it, people are never interrupting you in unison. You know, there's
Hmm.
usually, like if it's an orderly if it's a generally orderly room, there's usually like a couple of outliers. And I found that, yeah, the idea is to keep it festive and at the same time like just sort of shift the power dynamics in the room a little bit. And if you can do that
Yeah,
adequately, that's then you can keep the show rolling. Like people will come with you after that, and you
there are
can't be too
ways to
mean.
do it. Yeah, there are ways to
Yeah,
do it.
I've definitely seen dudes get up and just like ruin the show, like because then the crowd is like, okay, well, you mean you called my wife this, like, you know what I mean? And then people are just mad, like, come on, man, like I can't have fun anymore. You just ruined our night, like.
Oh god, it still makes me laugh real hard though. I'm just like, yeah, fucking let's sink this boat. Yeah, burn it, you know? Um I was
Yeah,
at a
yeah.
show like years ago. Kevin Kamiya was headlining, and you know, he's
Mhm.
like an amazing comic and he's such a nice
Yeah.
person. And there was a guy super drunk, like
Right.
obliterated.
Yeah.
He would not stop. Like he would stand up and start like talking. Like he kept doing it all night, right? And
People
Kevin
think they're in the
Kamiya,
show.
like all night, like terrorizing all the comics, and then Kevin Kamiya's
Yeah,
headlining, and then
yeah.
he's just like he just turns the whole crowd against him, and
Mhm.
everybody's satisfied because everybody was having an uncomfortable time because of this piece of shit, you know?
Yeah.
And all the comics up until now were being too nice to him. Yeah, they were being
Right.
really, really nice. They were trying their best to tolerate him, to still be like, okay, he's still part of the table. Like, let's not, bully him. They were
Yeah.
all being like that. And then Kevin Kimmy is like, no, it's like it's been like 2 hours, enough, you're out. Yeah. and
Yeah.
then and then finally, like after everybody like cheered and clapped and said like you suck, like that is when a fucking security person came and took them away.
Oh,
And also
jeez.
ultimately that is part of the house manager's role too, like they should pay attention to
Right.
that shit too. But it was just like, yeah,
Like, someone's
I
been
mean,
overserved, like, why am I having to field your
yeah,
negligence? Because
yeah, yeah,
you
yeah,
got this person liquored up, you
there
know
are
what I'm
ways to
saying?
do it.
Like,
Yeah, 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 yeah,
yeah, it's any venue, like, it's, you're responsible for who you allow in, you know? It's not my job, the person who's here just to shout into the mic. That's the reason I'm here. I do the mic shouting. I'm there to do one job. I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
there
yeah,
to,
yeah.
bounce people. That's why
Mm.
I never like it, because some comics, and they're funny people and they're sweet people, but they'll like try to make friends with the heckler. You know what I mean? It's like it's like the
Yeah.
Winston Churchill quote. It's like you can't negotiate with a tiger when your head's in its mouth. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like jail. Like you have
Yeah,
to,
yeah,
you're
yeah,
being tested, and you got
yeah.
to shut it down early, or yeah, it just gets larger. It becomes too much to handle,
Yeah,
and I feel bad for
how do you handle hecklers? Like, what was, like, one of the worst hecklers you had to handle?
sometimes I handle them well. I'd say about 30% of the time.
Talk about the times you
Yeah.
handled it well. Yeah.
The one time there was just, yeah, again, drunk guy. He was sitting in the front, and I like made some joke, and he was just like, well, like, and he was kind of muttering like before
Mm,
the like during the comic before me, but I could hear, and like he was getting a little bit louder like
mm.
during my set because I'm loud. And he was just like, I made some joke, and he had muttered early in my set and I didn't say anything, and I made some joke, and he was just like, and it just cuts through the silence, he was like, well, I didn't like that one. And then, so I just snapped right to him. Like, I was kind of ignoring him the whole time. And I snapped right to him. I was like, well, everybody else liked it, so you can fuck off. And just like,
Yeah,
at
yeah.
that point,
Yeah.
just, it was just an onslaught after that,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
then he was quiet for the rest of the show. I've
Right.
walked tables to a round of applause
Yeah.
because I just like, I just sort of target, and I try to like keep a smile on my face, but I'm definitely like
Yeah.
aiming to like embarrass, you know what I mean? And it's one of those things where like I'll even give a couple of warnings. Like if someone pipes up, like I'll
Yeah.
snap back a couple of times, like really quickly, just to be like, okay, like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
stop.
Uh-huh.
but
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
I mean, I've done show there was one at the last terrible one I had. I had one at the third wheel, and there was just a really drunk white lady, like in the middle of the audience. So like everyone's, it's a tiny little corner,
Yeah.
right? And like
Yeah.
everyone is just sort of like dressed around her and her husband. And
Oh.
she's like perfectly in the light and just
Mm.
would not stop. Like the host and the two comics before me, like really, really laying it on. And
Wow.
uh I got up there and I don't know. I called her a honky, which was just not something I planned to do, which the audience really seemed to enjoy. And then we all clapped as she got up and left, and
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
was an awful set. I barely did any material. Most of it was just me being rude to her to like
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
hyena cackling. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
That's not what I
Yeah.
want to be doing. Like people think that that's
Right.
what like I don't take like pleasure in that. Like I'd rather tell my jokes.
Exactly. We would all rather be telling our fucking jokes rather than
Yeah.
laying in on some guy or some lady who can't keep their shit together. That's the thing. Like
Mhm.
we don't, I mean, we enjoy it in that like, okay, we're getting our, vengeance now, but we don't enjoy it as it's not what we showed up for, right? Like
No, 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 no. And people think they're helping. People are like, "Man, I had to give you a challenge." It's like, why are you like
I
you could just come in here and
know.
light my house on fire? Like, you don't need to give me this. It's challenging. It's incredibly challenging without you throwing a monkey wrench at me from the third row.
I know. They always say that. They're like, I'm helping you. I'm helping you. And it's like, oh wow. Like okay, I appreciate that you're trying to help, but like, you know, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
common one. That's almost always the case. They always think that they're helping, and it's like,
Do you think
bro,
they decide that after, like, it hasn't gone well? Like, if these people show up at shows, and I think they're
they always
convinced
say that
because,
though.
like, a part of the adventure for them is
Yeah,
like, "Oh my god, are we gonna heckle the comedian?" Like, they think that that's, like, something you're supposed to do.
yeah, no,
It's like it's the cowardly man's version of streaking at a baseball game. It's
yeah,
something,
yeah.
it disrupts the situation,
No, I
and
don't think it's that malicious. I think they genuinely think that they're part of the fun. They genuinely think that they're part of the show. They genuinely
yeah.
think that they are helping the comedy. They think they're contributing to the show and its quality somehow. That's what they genuinely think.
They think it's quality. They think they're adding something. That's
They
the
think
that's
they're
the
adding
the
something. They
trick.
think they're part of it. And
Yeah.
it's like a need to be a part of it. And that's where that's where annoying people come from. Come from this place of need of wanting to insert themselves in places that they have no business inserting themselves into because
Mhm.
they don't have their own thing going that is giving them that satisfaction and that sense of home. And that's when people do that, and that's where, like, you get drunk and then you let that shit loose, and then you end up being that person, and I don't think they ultimately wanna be a shit stain on your rug, even though that is what they're being. They don't
That's what they
initially
become.
they don't see themselves as that way.
They wanna be
So
you. They're like, "Can I be you without the work and
exactly.
the sacrifices and the attention and effort?" Like, you know? But can I
100.
just be you though? You look cool right now. Everyone likes you. Look at all these
Exactly.
people that love you.
That's
Can I be
exactly what
you?
that is. Mhm, mhm. I was at a show, like, I wasn't performing, I was there to watch. I was watching Jim
Mhm.
Jeffries perform live in Seoul,
Wow, okay.
Korea. In Seoul, Korea.
Amazing. How was he doing?
He It was a crowd of expats, okay?
Uh-huh.
So, like, the most, how do I don't wanna sound too mean, but whatever, like, they like, the most, self-righteous, like, the most self-righteous white people live in
Oh, wow.
live in East Asia to teach English. And, like, they've been there to a certain point where they just think
Yeah.
like they rule the world. And
Interesting.
these are usually people who were, like, janitors in America. Not always, but a lot of them were,
Wow.
like, you know, really, like, bottom of the barrel kinds of people who, like, didn't really have anything else going for them, so they moved
Mhm.
to Asia where their language ability, even though they they probably like, misspell your and your all the time. Because of their
Right.
language ability and their race, they go to Asia and then they're an asset because of the language ability. And so
Interesting.
their brains are kind of like a little weird at this point because they've been just getting their way no matter what
Hmm.
in Asia. During the Jim Jeff
Interesting.
during the Jim Jeffries show, these white people would not stop heckling. I'm not talking one or two people. I'm talking like many, many, many people all throughout the show, starting with this opener. Like his opener was dealing with hecklers, and then Jim Jeffries gets on stage, heckling, 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 heckling. Jim Jeffries had a bottle of vodka that he was like, because he drinks sometimes on stage, and he left the vodka on the edge of the stage. A white guy got up, walked to stage, grabbed the bottle, took a swig from it, and then sat back down. And
That's
Jim
like a
Jeffries,
story for him. That's the thing. It's like he gets to go home and be like, "Oh my god, you wouldn't. It was crazy. I drank
exactly.
out of Jim Jeffries' bottle."
Exactly, exactly. But that's obviously no way to behave. And then
Yeah, it's
Jim
insane.
Jeffries was like just kind of like stunned at it, but then he goes, "What the fuck are you doing over there?" He's pointing at the security guard like standing there just letting it
Yeah.
happen, like watching this all happen. Anyway, and Jim Jeffries does story like long form storytelling mode, right? So
Right,
if you
right.
interrupt his set, he's not going to be able to do his like, callbacks and his full circle, whatever.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
his closer is just like botched. So what he did was he just did an old closer from like 10 years ago that
Mhm.
fans of his probably already know. And that's a big fuck you to the audience because what do we go to see a headliner for? We go to see his closer. We go to see,
Mhm.
like see her closer. Like that's the best. That's like the nice truffle dessert that you get at the end of the meal. And he was just like, "Well, I can't do my closer because you've been butchering my set the whole hour and a half, so I'm just gonna do
Jeez.
this." It was a shit show. Oh my god. Yeah.
You say white people, do you mean Americans or are they like Welsh, you know?
From all over, like
They were
Canada,
all equally like interesting.
Australia, like Scotland, like there are a lot of different white people that flock over there, but
Mhm.
yeah, there are like anthropology books that linguists have published on white English teachers in East Asia and
Interesting.
the kinds of like havoc that they wreak in the culture. Like a lot of like white English male teachers will go there and like start having sex with their female students. Some of them will deliberately go to do precisely that. Like there's
I've heard that before. It's in a
yeah.
sentiment that like white guys have expressed. And I remember thinking this is a really strange way to like if it's a strange reason to travel, but like it's something like, oh man, yeah, you go to places like Japan, like the guys there, they're just not interested in the women, but they're like the most beautiful women, and they're just trying to get laid, and I could just
Oh
go there and like
god.
give them dick, like
Ah!
it's really like, I mean, it's a nice place too. Like I understand, like you can't just go somewhere just to get laid. Like what are you
Like,
fucking?
have you
And it's
seen
I don't
the
know.
country and what they do? Like, have you seen
I
their
mean,
have you
I
tried
get
their
it.
food? Like, have you seen
I
their
get it.
architecture?
I feel like there is a like a sentiment in like really traditional Asian communities where it's like, oh, like a white guy's like, like a decorated, you know what I mean, this golden prince from overseas, right? And these guys know that, and like back home they get treated like shit because they have nothing to contribute and they're mediocre as fuck. But like you said, their whiteness goes like the market value of their whiteness goes much further in Asia, and I think they
That's their
know that.
currency. Yeah.
And exactly, like they're able to leverage that to achieve this like sexually lavish lifestyle that they can't quite arrive at here because like people know they're bullshit. People are aware.
And it's also like what's sinister about the whole thing is that colonization is what made that possible. Like they think
Yeah,
that that's just a given, like as if Asians actually really do admire them. And it's like, no, they don't. It's like, it's all cultural
you don't think that's a
conditioning.
part of the a population? Yeah, I mean obviously it comes from like a really fucked up place, but I do think that there's like, especially, I mean, I don't know, I guess I can't speak for all Asians, but there is a subset of the population in Indian communities that's like, oh, like, oh, she got a white guy. You know what I mean? Like, it's, even if it's one of those situations where it's obviously like a dude that like came over to like
Yeah.
take
But
advantage
you
of
have
like
to
a girl
look
that
at
has less
why
money.
but you have to look at why that white person is being celebrated. It has nothing to
Right.
do
It's
with
not
who
for
he
healthy
is as
reasons. Yeah.
it has nothing to do with who he is as a person at all. It has to do with his whiteness and his social currency and his potential actual capital currency. White people
Mhm.
equal money. That's what they equal in Asia. They don't equal anything else. And white people equal fear in Asia. Militarism, colonization, death. So it's like
Ooh, interesting.
coerced
Yeah.
kind of admiration, and that's not admiration at all. That's fear.
Mhm.
That's lust after capital. There's no
Mhm.
love there ultimately, you know? And it's like, oh, okay, if you as a white guy feel satisfied being used in this way. I mean, you think you're going there and using these women for, sexual fodder. It's like, well,
Yeah.
this culture, this whole nation is actually using you up just as much based on how your people were treating this whole entire continent. So do it up, but
And
it's
they deserve
like,
it. That's the thing.
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
you got served the same thing that you were going after, and it
It's
doesn't feel awesome when it
mutually
happens to
it's
you.
mutually exploitative, you know? And so
Yeah, 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 yeah.
it gets murky for me, and in any case, yeah, I felt for Jim Jeffries that day watching him get heckled for
Yeah.
that long, for that much. It was a
Please tell me
nightmare.
the Koreans in the audience were incredibly polite and that they laughed and they just wanted to hear the
Yeah,
jokes and
yeah, like, they
good, good.
I was there as a Korean American audience, but I'm also a
Yeah.
comic, and I'm just like, I know how to behave, which is just laugh. You don't talk
Yes.
to them, you don't yell
You
things out.
listen. He's also, I mean, he's a particularly inflammatory comedian too. Like I feel like people, because he,
Exactly.
he says things that cause an emotional reaction. So people I think are
Yeah,
more like, readily anxious to like snap back or like say, and then I told
sure,
Jim Jeffrey, you know what I mean? Again,
sure.
it's all a fucking story. Like especially for someone at that level, like if they knew who he was. So that
Yeah,
means, if they bought the tickets, they probably looked him
yeah,
up on YouTube. And of course they're
yeah,
gonna
yeah,
find like huge videos of like theaters and stuff like that.
yeah,
They, like a part of it I think is like, with that guy, he thinks he can say whatever he wants because he's famous, but
right.
that doesn't mean that he gets to come where I live. And you know what I mean? It just comes from that. I think what you're talking about is this sort of like vaguely unearned entitlement for everything to work out exactly the way you'd like.
Mhm, mhm. Yeah, I almost admire it. I almost admire it. I'm almost like, I wish
Oh
I had
yeah.
that amount of, like, self-confidence and,
Yeah.
you
If you
know
can believe in yourself that much, you're capable of anything. That's why anytime
Exactly.
'cause it's like a white home. Anytime I see a white homeless person, I'm like, you're just down, aren't you? Like, you just gotta, some there's nothing. You're just a little bummed out. Come on, get it. Come on, cheer up.
You're just having a bad day, you know?
No,
You could
that's not.
you could
I don't.
turn this
That's not
around.
very fair. I know that people's circumstances can be different, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. Okay, I always do this on all my podcast episodes. So I ask a series of flashcard questions based on one
Okay.
Korean drama, and then you just answer them like what you would do if you were this person in this situation. And, just feel free to play with it. Nothing
Okay.
serious. It's just
Should I
improv.
assume the I guess dispositions of a Korean drama character, or am I myself in this situation?
Yeah, it's you, but like if you were this person in this scenario. But yeah, you maintain
Okay.
you. Yeah, maintain you.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so let's say you're a 39-year-old woman named Chanyoung, and you're an
Mhm.
acting coach, okay?
Mhm.
You're really hung up on a married guy. He's actually your ex-boyfriend from almost 20 years ago. But when he went
What?
to study abroad for a few years, he impregnated some other lady and got married for sake of the child. So you guys like no longer dated, but you maintained your friendship, okay? So you still see him pretty regularly. You guys eat together, talk about work and shit, but your best friend Mijo keeps teasing you by calling you a homewrecker even though you've never slept with him. What do you do?
Hmm. 39. Life's
Mhm.
short. Got to move on. You know,
Mm,
can't just
yeah.
can't just stay hung up on some dude.
Mhm.
Gotta gotta move your shit forward. I'm embarrassed that it's taken her this long to arrive
Yeah.
here,
Yeah.
but not all journeys are alike. But I just hope she arrives at the correct destination, as I
Okay.
would.
All right. Okay, good, good. Okay, okay. Let's say you're a different person now. Your name is Mijo. You're a 39-year-old
Okay.
dermatologist, okay? You're
Okay. And I'm
also
the
an
friend of the last lady. Yes.
you're a friend of the last
Gotcha.
lady. You're an adoptee, okay? So
Mm.
you were raised in a very loving home, however, with an older sister and loving parents, but you continue to visit your old adoption center regularly to spend time with the kids there and,
The
like bring
orphans.
yeah,
Yes.
to the other orphans, like bring them food and spend time with them.
Mm.
During your visit, you meet a man named Sonu. He used to have a younger sister who was at that orphanage, okay?
I
And
see.
he's a hot guy. All right? You
He's a
guys
hot man.
he's a hot guy. You guys hit it off. It's your first time meeting him, but he asks you to come over to spend the night with him to see if you're down to fuck. What do you do?
How hot is he? I think if you want an honest, how is it hotter than the hottest guy I've
I mean,
ever
okay,
been with?
this is my barometer now. This is just my
Mhm.
barometer. Like on the show, they all think he's like a 10, but like for me personally, I give him like between a 7.5 to an 8.
Mhm. Who
Like,
is a 10 for you? I feel like I need some kind of gauge.
oh, oh, good. That's a good question. God, this is hard. I mean,
Someone too messant, all right?
oh shit, what's his name? Okay, I have to look him up. Uh, uh, he's so fucking hot. He was in Big Little Lies, and
Big Little Lies.
he's the abusive husband.
Is it Skarsgård, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
What's
yeah,
his
yeah, yeah,
first name?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
That guy?
That guy, he's so fucking hot.
Okay. That guy's a 10.
He's a 10 for
And
me. I think he's really fucking
okay.
fine.
And the dude from the adoption facility,
Oh,
the
compared to
orphanage.
him, I would give him like a 5.
Okay, so he's not that. Then you know what?
But this is
I think
my barometer. Like among these
okay.
ladies, they think he's like a 10. Yeah.
Oh,
So
I trust your judgment. But that being said, I think I say, hey, you know what? It's not really how I'm busy that night. Is what I would say. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm busy that night. I have plans. I have plans with a friend. It's real ambiguous. It's like maybe you know what? Maybe I could play some games too. Got to play these games. If you're trying to get in these pants, you know. This is
okay.
drama. This is Korean drama. I gotta keep things spicy. This is
Yeah.
kimchi shit.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Like maintain the tension. Okay, okay. Got it,
Yes,
got it, got it.
yes, exactly.
All right. All right. So you're this dermatologist lady again. You're Mijo again, okay? You're at
Okay,
your
okay.
clinic. You're at your clinic waiting for another dermatologist to join your offices. Like this has been in the works, it's been in the plan. So the person
Mhm.
finally arrives and you see that it's that man you had a one night stand with. What do you do?
Wait, so she does have a one night stand with him. Okay.
They hook up.
Nice. You know what? Still feel like things worked out. And he shows up and he's now a patient.
No, he's a
Is he
dermatologist.
Oh,
He's
he's
a
a
fellow
dermatologist.
colleague.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I guess you try not to say anything. You just gotta be like, it's a professional work environment. You gotta keep it on the low. Like you go up and you're like, hey, listen, like I know that was like something that happened, but I just want to be cool. I'm not trying to like, you know, trying to get your business out there. And I'd appreciate if you didn't do the same. I'd be like, okay, come on, like I didn't know you were a dermatologist then. Let's just be cool about it.
Okay. Wow. All right. All right. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
That's
mean,
not what
because
happened.
that was a one night stand. That was like a hookup thing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You're right. Okay,
Yeah,
good,
yeah,
good.
yeah, yeah.
Boundaries. All right. Okay, so
Boundaries.
now you're a different person. Your name is Jihan. You're a 39-year-old woman who works at a department store as a
Is
cosmetics
this like
counter
can I
manager.
can I ask you,
What?
is this like
Yeah.
Korean Sex in the City? Like, is that this show? Like, 'cause that's how it sounds. It's like they're all
Yeah.
39 years old.
Yeah, yeah,
I know the
yeah,
women
yeah.
on the show are not that old,
Uh-huh.
but maybe they
Yeah,
are
yeah,
now. I don't know.
yeah.
But
Similar.
they're all
Very similar.
39 and they're just like, you know, and just
Very
like
similar.
that, like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Very similar.
I
Yeah.
hooked up with them. Okay,
Yeah.
wonderful, wonderful. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So tell me more about this one.
Okay, so she works at a department store. She manages a
Okay.
cosmetics counter, okay? So
Okay.
that's who you are. You're at
Hmm.
work and a female customer is being extremely rude to you, demanding that you accept a return even though she does not have the receipt. So you ask
Uh-huh.
her to please check her purse again, and she takes out a handful of receipts and just throws them on the floor and says, "You find it." So
Uh.
you okay, you're still maintaining your composure.
Hmm.
You go
Hmm.
down, you find the correct receipt, and you explain that you can refund, but you bought this during a sale, so you're gonna get that sale price back, whatever sale price she paid. And she says no,
Yeah.
she wants the full price, because the sale is now over. Yeah, she's being extremely rude, and she's also being unreasonable, and she's screaming at
Hmm.
you and being very impolite. What do you do?
Is there like a security guard or somebody
Right?
that you can
Not
like
not as of
wave
now.
over?
Not as of
Okay.
now.
Okay.
It's just the
Uh,
2 of you for now.
I don't thrive in a customer service environment. It's not. It was never the world for me. So you know what? I don't think I'd handle it in a very responsible way.
Yeah.
Uh, I would tear up her receipt and be like, "Oh, I'm sorry. I guess I can't prove that you bought it now. So you can either leave it or I can call the cops for you trying to steal. But this is ours. I just take the thing." She'd be like,
Yeah.
"Okay, next. Sorry,
Okay.
deuces."
Yeah, serve her just desserts. Be just as
Yeah.
unreasonable back. Okay,
She's like,
okay,
if she's
good, good.
already yelling at me, is she gonna yell at me more? Oh
Yeah.
no! Like I'm
Yeah.
already living in that world. Like, what
Right,
else are you
right.
gonna do to
Yeah,
me?
let's keep going. I get it.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, yeah.
great. All right, let's say you're Chanyoung again. You're that first lady, the acting coach. Um,
Okay.
you're told that you have stage 4 pancreatic cancer and your chance of survival is like
Oh
0.8%. What do you do?
God damn!
What
What
do you
kind of
do?
show is this? Oh no! Oh, there was so much whimsy in my mind up until this. This is just like is this the first episode that happens?
It's pretty early on. Yeah,
Oh my
it's like
god!
shocking. Yeah.
Stage 4 pancreas. I started smoking cigarettes. I would go. I would get a pack of cigarettes and I'd start smoking. Yeah,
Mm,
and
fuck it.
and then sell it. Yeah, just selling stuff and buying plane tickets. Fuck it. Like, what kind of
Mm,
news is that? What kind of weird shit is that to share with somebody? I would
man.
spend every penny
Yeah.
and smoke cigarettes every day.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fucking yeah.
Yeah,
Go all the way. Take it to the extreme. Got it. Okay. All
yeah, 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 yeah.
right.
Does
Now,
she survive?
I'm not gonna.
You can't say.
I
Okay.
can't confirm nor deny that right now. Okay.
All
I mean,
right.
but it's stage 4. I mean, come on. It's pancreatic cancer.
Serious.
Like that's a
Is that what Steve Jobs had, right?
death sentence, basically. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And stage 4. My God. Yeah. All right. Let's say you're a man named Jin-seok and you're the
Okay.
married man that Chanyeong used to date years ago, okay?
The treachery. Okay.
Yeah. So you and your wife have been having problems for years now because you found out a few years ago that the boy you call your son is actually not yours. Your wife lied to you in order to marry you even though she was carrying some other man's child and you were always in love with Chanyeong and she is now dying of pancreatic cancer. What do you do?
I think it's time to get with the old flame, you know. I think it's hard to say, but um at some point it's like you can love a child, but you also got to take care of you. Life's short, 39 years old, you know. Damn. Who knows what can happen? Pancreatic cancer, especially, with that situation. Like, I don't know. It sounds like he's in a pretty thankless place anyway, like romantically. Like, it's a little treachery
Yeah.
at this
Yeah.
point.
Forgivable. Okay.
I'd
Okay,
understand.
good.
I wouldn't be stoked on it, but I'd be like,
Y-
man, I guess he had to do what was right for him.
Yeah. 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 You got to live your life.
Gotta
Okay.
live your life.
Final question. It's not
Yes.
intense this one. It's not intense. All right, let's say you're Sonu. You're that guy that had a one night stand with that Micho dermatologist lady, okay?
Okay.
Uh,
I'm
uh,
also a dermatologist.
you're also a dermatologist. You're both
Gotcha.
dermatologists, and y'all are boning, okay? You guys are dating.
Oh,
All right. You guys
nice.
have. You guys
Again,
are.
it's that's a good way to go too. You know, if there's more boning involved, and it sounds like there is, can't what are you gonna stop complaining?
Yeah, everything is going your way. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, good.
Yeah.
So you guys are dating. You guys are dating.
Yes.
You plan a whole camping trip for your girlfriend Micho, and you guys are on the road. You're driving to the campsite, but she gets a phone
Mhm.
call from one of her besties who says she suddenly quit her job and blah blah blah.
Wow.
And now Mijo looks really worried in the passenger seat. What do you do?
Go down on her. I think it's a pretty good place to start, you know? I think she's gonna be mad at me, like, she's not going down on her, like,
Yeah, when in doubt, go down on her.
it never hurts. It never hurts. If you're in a fight, just, you know, it never hurts. It's never set anyone back to go
Yeah,
down on their girlfriend.
that's the full t-shirt. Like, when in doubt, go down on her. It never hurts. It's three. Yeah, it's a
That's gonna be
haiku.
my merch. It's gonna be. I'm gonna tell
Okay.
this joke and then yeah, and then be like, okay, I'm selling shirts. If you didn't see me walk in with an enormous suitcase, that's what it's in there. It's full of shirts.
Yeah,
I have
three sizes. Yeah,
I
yeah,
have a lot of larges. People aren't buying them. So if you're okay with a slightly bigger shirt, you know, I'll give you a discount. Man,
yeah.
the fucking nickel and diamond with the shirt sales.
Ugh, fucking shirts.
Yeah.
All right, bro. This is super fun. Thank you for doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I had fun.